Three Ukrainian cruise missiles raced through Russian airspace above the Black Sea, flying directly toward an offshore gas facility close to the Krasnodar coast. Right in their path stood an S-400 air defense battery near Anapa, the most advanced system Russia possesses. That morning, Russian operators watching their radar screens saw nothing unusual, yet they still had not spotted the danger hidden within the FP-5 Flamingo missiles, a sophisticated, layered attack designed to saturate, jam, and overpower every defensive barrier from Ukrainian launch sites to those critical gas storage tanks.
Comment number 2 if you support Ukraine, number 3 if you support Russia, and number 4 if you love peace.
The Ukrainian FP-5 Flamingo missiles advanced in spread-out formation, staying at roughly 200 feet above the wave crests. Their composite bodies cut through the salty air at 540 miles per hour. Although each weighed about 13,000 pounds, they appeared on radar like a pelican. Some 25 miles offshore and 20 miles northeast of the S-400 site, Russia's 91N6E Big Bird radar kept scanning the southern horizon, where operators soon noticed strange signals. Under good conditions, this phased array antenna can track as many as 300 targets at once out to 370 miles, particularly high-altitude cooperative ones.
This time, however, the targets offered no cooperation. Operators observed only fleeting ghosts, signals that blinked on for 2 sweeps, disappeared for 3, then flickered back with a slightly changed bearing. Something was clearly moving out there. Velocity readings proved it, yet the system struggled to lock accurately. The problem lay not with the radar, but with basic physics. At 200 feet over water, Earth's curvature creates a shadow zone no ground-based radar can see past. Mounted on an 8-meter truck chassis, the 91N6E has a line of sight limit of roughly 22 miles against sea-skimming missiles. The S-400's famous 155-mile range works for high-altitude bombers at 30,000 feet, not for low-flying, sea-skimming missiles, where radar waves simply cannot reach. The designers of the FP-5 Flamingo exploited this weakness without mercy. The missile divides into 3 main sections, a 7.9-foot nose containing the guidance suite, an inertial measurement unit equipped with 3 laser ring gyros and 3 accelerometers, a GPS receiver featuring anti-jam filters, and an onboard mission computer that blends navigation data to follow preset flight routes.
What truly distinguished the FP-5 Flamingo was its E-glass fiberglass composite fuselage, woven fibers set in epoxy resin over a honeycomb core, providing strong structure with almost no extra weight. This design absorbed radar energy, making the missiles extremely difficult to detect. At 7:03 a.m., the FP-5 Flamingo missiles crossed the 22-mile detection line. Russia's 91N6E at last identified the lead target. Speed 541 miles per hour, altitude 190 feet, magnetic heading 047 degrees, flying straight at the gas facility, 18 miles distant. 8 seconds later, the nearby S-300 battery picked it up with matching data, but the extra confirmation arrived too late. The S-400 commander now had only about 50 seconds before the engagement window shut. The 92N6E Gravestone fire control radar swung toward the threat, its narrow beam calculating a precise intercept path. Behind the lead FP-5 Flamingo, 2 additional dangerous contacts emerged. Farther back appeared something slower, heavier, and too numerous to tally before the first interceptors needed to fire. Without waiting for S-300 coordination, the commander gave the launch order. The sequence from command to ignition lasted 4 seconds. While the 92N6E supplied trajectory information to the missile computers, launchers tilted to firing position. Compressed gas pushed each 48N6DM interceptor out of its canister at roughly 100 feet per second, quick enough to clear the vehicle before the solid rocket motor ignited.
Nearly 23 feet long and weighing under 4,000 pounds at launch, the 48N6DM interceptor featured a two-stage design. After ejection, the sustainer motor ignited, receiving mid-course guidance updates through data link from ground radar. In the final phase, the semi-active seeker took control. 40 feet from the FP5 Flamingo, the proximity fuse on the first 48N6DM exploded, sending tungsten fragments tearing into the Ukrainian missile's tail, cutting hydraulic lines and causing the airframe to tumble in pieces into the Black Sea. The second interceptor lost lock at the worst possible instant and self-destructed rather than pursue an impossible target. One FP5 Flamingo was gone, but two remained inbound, their fiberglass surfaces still soaking up radar energy. The gas facility now sat only 14 miles away, under 90 seconds of flight time. The S-300 requested target handoff for the trailing threats, yet that demanded the 55K6E command post to match track numbers across batteries, a step that consumed vital seconds. While data link coordination dragged on, the second FP5 Flamingo passed the 20-mile mark. 4 interceptors launched in quick succession, 2 from the S-400 and 2 from the S-300. Within 6 seconds, both batteries focused on one target. The interceptors sped along radar-guided routes toward a contact that should have disappeared. The S-400 missiles reached at thirst. One proximity detonation damaged a wing, while the other missed completely as the target jinked at the final moment.
The S-300 missiles struck only debris where the cruise missile had been. 2 FP5 Flamingos destroyed at a price of $8.4 million in interceptors. Both batteries immediately called for reload vehicles, but 4 minutes remained until they arrived. Meanwhile, the third FP5 Flamingo slipped past the engagement zone, diving toward the coast at 540 miles per hour with its undamaged 2,500-pound warhead. Behind it, target numbers on every regional Russian radar climbed steadily. In just 90 seconds, the command post display turned chaotic. Although the gas facility still had 12 minutes before the heaviest wave arrived, radar screens had already plunged into disorder. Certain contacts resembled FP5 Flamingo, fast, faint, and flickering through clutter. Others moved steadily at 120 miles per hour with clear returns, obviously propeller-driven, yet too many to rank. A few matched nothing in the threat database, too quick for drones, too slow for cruise missiles, displaying signatures Russian defenses had never seen. The first wave used FP5 Flamingo, but the real assault came from something different, and the Russians were just starting to understand. The most dangerous tracks were not the drones, but 2 labeled Hostile 07 and Hostile 08, completely unlike FP5 Flamingo. These matched the signatures troops had trained to identify since April 2022, the missiles that sank Russia's cruiser Moskva. They were extended-range Neptune land attack missiles. The extended-range Neptune grew from a straightforward question asked by Ukrainian engineers. What if we scale it up? Almost all the extra volume went into fuel rather than a larger warhead. The MS-400 turbofan, generating about 4,000 pounds of thrust, carried propellant sufficient for 620 miles instead of the original 174. The warhead increased from 330 pounds to 570 pounds, made possible by the bigger airframe without losing range. While the standard Neptune relied on active radar homing, with a small nose seeker turning on in the terminal phase to lock on to the biggest metallic object against a flat sea, the long-range version removed the radar seeker completely. In its place went a mission computer handling 3 navigation modes at once. GPS served as primary, updating position every second from satellites. Inertial guidance acted as backup, using 3 laser ring gyros and 3 accelerometers to fuse measurements for dead reckoning without outside help. After the Moskva sinking, the S-300 commander had received specialized training on the Neptune profile and knew precisely what to target. He passed the classification upward while fire control computed intercept solutions. Yet the 55K-6E command post continued struggling with track correlation across batteries, losing seconds the two Neptune missiles would not allow.
Near Vasilovka, 40 miles southwest of the gas facility, the two Neptune missiles crossed the coast inbound at 560 miles per hour, presenting an immediate threat. 14 slower drone contacts trailed behind, too numerous to disregard. With 6 missiles left in S-400 tubes and 8 in S-300 tubes, 14 interceptors faced 16 confirmed threats. Only the Neptune missiles could cause catastrophic damage in the next 90 seconds, so they received top priority. Independent battery commanders reached the same decision. Interceptors launched in 4 seconds. Hostile 07 absorbed 3 hits and broke apart over the shoreline. Hostile 08 performed better, or possessed a more favorable profile. As interceptors closed, the Neptune jinked sharply, slipping behind a low bridge near Golubitskaya at the decisive instant. One Russian 48N6DM lost lock completely. Another exploded 50 feet away, peppering the missile skin with fragments but failing to destroy it. An S-300 48N6E2 arrived 2 seconds later to find empty air. Hostile 08 reappeared from behind a ridge, trailing debris with damaged control surfaces yet still controllable. The guidance computer recorded the impacts, accepted reduced roll control and asymmetric drag, lowered top speed, and recalculated the entire path. Terminal velocity fell from 560 miles per hour to 490 miles per hour, but the 570-pound high-explosive warhead stayed fully armed, no matter what its carrier. 15 miles east of the gas facility, the Buck M3 battery commander had monitored those trajectories on his screen for 4 minutes, and the picture made little sense. 14 contacts approached from the southwest at 120 to 130 miles per hour, clearly propeller-driven. The cruise missiles had already passed his zone. He observed S-400 and S-300 launches on his display, watched symbols disappear as interceptors hit or pursued phantoms. Now the strategic SAM belt needed reloading, and the threat became his responsibility.
The Buk M3's 9S-36 engagement radar swept the lead contacts using its phased array beam. Lighter than the S-400 radar, with roughly 900 transmit-receive modules compared to 8,500, it was built for a different role, tracking and engaging mid-altitude targets used by cruise missiles and tactical aircraft. Maximum detection reached about 75 miles against fighter-sized targets, though effective range against small drones fell to around 25 miles. Classification came back quickly. UAV, high probability one-way attack drone. Identifying them proved simple. Deciding how to deal with 14 of them when his battery held only 36 9M317M missiles and could not reload on site was the real challenge. Externally, the Liuti drones appeared unremarkable. 2 blanched, propeller-driven, roughly 12 feet long with a 22-foot foldable wingspan for transport and a 75-pound warhead in the nose. The airframe and engine cost little, but the guidance system stood out. Each carried a Skynode S flight computer, about the size of a paperback book and weighing under 2.2 pounds, that combined 3 key components: a multi-core processor running navigation algorithms, a 3-axis gyro and accelerometer inertial unit, and a downward-facing camera offering a 60-degree field of view. Every second, the camera recorded 10 frames of the terrain below: roads, rivers, buildings, fields. The processor applied image matching algorithms to compare successive frames, estimate motion, and cross-check landmarks against preloaded reference maps. A road intersection, river bend, or building cluster matching stored coordinates provided a fix accurate to 15 feet under favorable conditions. When GPS remained available, Skynode fused GPS data with visual positioning, weighting each according to signal quality and stability. If GPS weakened, the processor noticed position jumps inconsistent with measured acceleration, signal strength falling below threshold, or satellites reporting 600-foot leaps in half a second. Rather than panic, it lowered GPS confidence and leaned harder on visual navigation. The drone continued flying, stayed on course, and closed toward its target.
13 miles northeast of the gas facility, Russia's Pole 21 jamming station operated exactly as intended. Pole 21 forms a distributed TPS denial network, not a single strong emitter, but many small jamming nodes placed on existing structures, such as cell towers, power poles, and rooftops. Each node jammed the two main GPS frequencies and synchronized to produce overlapping denial zones out to 50 miles, while remaining too small and scattered to attract anti-radiation missiles. The system worked well against satellite-dependent weapons, but against drones using terrain-referenced navigation, it simply consumed power uselessly. Pole 21 and Book M3 were supposed to work together as one defensive layer. Russian doctrine expected GPS-reliant threats to lose course without satellite lock, making them simpler to intercept or less dangerous if they broke through. Yet Skynode S destroyed that expectation. The Lutey drones refused to stray. They followed terrain features, stayed within 165 feet of course, and flew straight at the gas storage tanks. The surviving FP5 Flamingo remained the highest priority target on screen, complicating the situation. The Book commander chose to engage the cruise missile and disregard the drones. Two 9M317M interceptors launched immediately. Smaller than the S-400's 48N6DM, around 18 feet long and 1,500 pounds, they accelerated more rapidly off the rail, reaching Mach 4.5 in 3 seconds. The solid motor burned for 15 seconds, pushing peak speed near Mach 5 before burnout. Like the S-400 missile, it used semi-active radar homing in the terminal phase, with a proximity fuse encircling a fragmentation warhead. The first interceptor approached from above and behind. Its fuse detonated at 30 feet, hurling tungsten fragments through the FP5 Flamingo tail, destroying control surfaces and hydraulics. The nose dropped. Although the flight computer fought to maintain programmed course, the missile cartwheeled into the Black Sea 1,200 feet offshore. The 2,500-pound warhead exploded on impact, near enough to threaten, yet the gas facility survived this attack. The second interceptor hit only spray. Two missiles spent at $2.2 million neutralized one threat, but the drones pressed forward.
34 missiles still remained, 14 drones approached, and one damaged Neptune had gone unengaged since the S-300 near miss 4 minutes earlier. Designed for aircraft and cruise missiles, the 9M317M was not optimized for 550-pound drones flying at 120 miles per hour. Its radar proximity fuse transmitted constantly from the nose, measuring Doppler shift to sense when a target entered lethal range. Fuse settings were tuned for aircraft-sized returns. Against the Lutey composite airframe, fiberglass over foam core, the Echo barely surpassed a large bird. Hit probability might reach 85% versus fighters, but fell below 55% here. 4 9M317M launched in sequence, each assigned to a lead drone. 2 succeeded, 2 failed. The misses resulted not from guidance mistakes, but from fuse failure. Missiles flew through the lethal envelope without detecting enough return to trigger detonation. 8 more followed. 5 hits, 3 misses, 6 drones destroyed, but the battery expended $13.2 million to eliminate roughly $200,000 worth of Ukrainian equipment. Next came the Neptune. For 6 minutes, Hostile 08 had flown injured, dragging debris over the Krasnodar countryside and passing south of Timruk. The guidance computer recorded damage and recalculated. What allowed it to hold course despite fragments lodged in control surfaces was the Kalman filter, an algorithm from the 1960s now common in smartphone GPS and spacecraft navigation. It kept parallel position estimates, one from GPS, one from inertial. Each included uncertainty values reflecting confidence in that source. Every few milliseconds, the filter compared them. Consistent matches preserved high confidence in both. Inconsistencies prompted pattern analysis. GPS jamming creates characteristic errors, abrupt, large position jumps unrelated to measured acceleration.
Satellites reported 600-foot northeast leaps in half a second, yet accelerometers showed nothing. That indicated jamming. The filter identified the pattern and reduced GPS trust. As the Neptune receiver began detecting Pole 21 interference, the filter immediately sensed signal degradation and erratic estimates. It stayed calm, increased reliance on inertial, tolerated drift error, and kept advancing. Within effective jammer range, navigation shifted nearly completely to inertial. Accuracy declined, perhaps 900 feet of error, but against an 18-hectare tank farm, collision probability stayed near 100%. The Neptune crossed the coast at 490 miles per hour and 300 feet, its damaged airframe screaming through salty air. The Book engagement radar finally locked on, but the window had already closed. Minimum engagement range for the 9M317M stood at about 2,400 feet, 3 seconds for the Neptune. The commander saw the symbol race across his screen and realized nothing was left to launch. At 7:11 a.m., Hostile 08 cleared the last ridge. Gas storage tanks appeared ahead. The guidance computer confirmed target coordinates and began the terminal dive.
Impact. Hostile 08 hit tank number 7 squarely in the center, a 200 cubic meter pressurized vessel loaded with liquefied petroleum gas. The warhead pierced half-inch steel plate and exploded inside, transforming the tank into a bomb. Superheated gas burst outward, breaking welds, tearing insulation, and flinging burning LPG across 4 neighboring tanks. 4 seconds later, tank number 9 erupted. Fuel from number 7 covered pressure relief valves and blocked safe venting. When the steel gave way, the tank collapsed fully, triggering a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. A BLEV. A 200-foot fireball rose. The Buke still held 22 missiles. 8 drones remained inbound. Tank crews near the perimeter watched the fireball from their positions, and the second wave had not yet finished. At 7:12 a.m., the 8 surviving Luti drones entered range of the gas facility. Each Pantsir battery carried 12 missiles and had roughly 40 seconds to respond. They destroyed 4 drones. 4 broke through, striking Tank 12, Tank 19, pump stations, and rail transfer lines. Though each 75-pound warhead was too small to burst pressure vessels immediately, every explosion started fires that spread toward critical points. At 7:15 a.m., Tank 15 suffered BLEV from radiant heat from Tank 12, exceeding structural limits. A 400-foot fireball climbed. Tank 16 followed 90 seconds later, then Tanks 24, 25, and 26, 3 vessels failing in 15 seconds and merging into one giant fireball later measured at 600 feet across in satellite imagery. By 7:20 a.m., 22 of 30 tanks were destroyed or burning out of control. Loading gantries disappeared, rail yards ceased functioning. The fire burned unchecked for 3 days.
Comment number 2 if you support Ukraine, number 3 if you support Russia, and number 4 if you love peace.